What I'm about to show you is going to change how you look at your breakfast table forever. Because the drink I'm talking about is sitting in millions of homes right now, right beside toast, cereal, oatmeal, and pills for blood pressure, cholesterol, and diabetes. It looks innocent. It looks refreshing. It even looks healthy. But for a shocking number of older adults, this one daily habit is quietly driving blood sugar higher, triggering energy crashes, worsening cravings, and creating the exact metabolic chaos they think they're avoiding. And when I reveal why it happens so fast, you're going to understand why so many people get blindsided. I'm Dr. Luna Ellison, and I need you to hear this carefully. Please subscribe to this channel right now because these simple daily health truths could protect your blood sugar and future. Because the drink I'm talking about today is not soda. That would be too obvious. And most seniors already know soda is trouble. The dangerous drink is the one people defend, the one they pour for guests, the one they drink when they're trying to be healthier. The one doctors hear about every single day from patients who say, "But I don't eat sugar," and yet their glucose keeps climbing. Let me tell you about Eleanor first, because her story reveals the trap in a way lab numbers never can. Eleanor was 72, retired librarian, disciplined, thoughtful, the kind of woman who followed instructions exactly. When her doctor warned her that her A1C was creeping into prediabetes range, she got serious. She cut back on cookies. She stopped eating pie after dinner. She avoided candy. And every morning, she replaced her old breakfast with what she believed was the perfect health routine: a bowl of oatmeal, a slice of whole grain toast, and a large glass of orange juice. 3 months later, her blood sugar was worse. Much worse. She was stunned. And honestly, she was angry. She felt betrayed by her own effort. She said to me, "I gave up junk food. I did what everyone says. How can my sugar be higher?" That question matters, because it's the same question thousands of people are asking right now. And the answer is this: the drink secretly spiking blood sugar for many seniors is fruit juice, especially the kind you drink every day believing it's healthy. Orange juice, apple juice, grape juice, cranberry juice, juice blends, even 100% juice. Not because fruit is bad. Fruit is not the villain. The problem is what happens when fruit becomes liquid. And this is where most people miss the danger. Because the label can look beautiful. It can say 100% juice. It can say no added sugar. It can have pictures of orchards, sunshine, oranges, berries, smiling families. None of that changes what your body sees when it hits your stomach. Your body sees a fast delivery of sugar without the natural fiber structure that whole fruit normally gives you. That fiber is not a small detail. It is the brake pedal. It slows absorption, supports fullness, and changes how fast sugar reaches your bloodstream. When you strip most of that away, the ride gets fast. Think about what's actually in one glass. It often takes the juice of several pieces of fruit to fill a normal cup. Most people would never sit down and eat 4 or 5 oranges in 5 minutes. They'd stop, they'd get full. Their chewing would slow them down. The bulk of the fruit would signal the brain and gut that enough is enough. But you can drink that amount, sometimes more, in under 60 seconds. And when you do, you're not getting the experience of eating fruit. You're getting a concentrated sugar delivery system that feels healthy enough to repeat every morning without guilt. Now, before anyone misunderstands me, I am not saying fruit is dangerous. I am saying juice behaves differently than whole fruit, and that difference becomes especially important after age 60, when insulin sensitivity is often lower, muscle mass is often lower, daily activity is often lower, and the body doesn't always clear glucose as smoothly as it did at 30. That one healthy morning drink can hit an older body very differently than expected. And the worst part is this: because it has a health halo around it, people don't question it. They question the toast. They question the banana. They question themselves. They don't question the glass. Let me show you how deceptive this gets with another patient. Harold was 69, a former contractor, tough man, practical, not someone who obsessed over nutrition. But when his wife had a heart scare, he decided they both needed to clean things up. Out went soda. Out went milkshakes. Out went ice cream most days. In came cranberry juice, because someone told him it was better, and because he'd heard it was good for urinary health. He drank 2 tall glasses a day. Within weeks, his afternoon blood sugar readings started climbing, his energy dropped, and he became shakier before dinner. What Harold didn't realize is that many cranberry drinks are not really cranberry in the way people imagine. They're often cocktails, blends, or sweetened beverages carrying a serious sugar load. And even when the drink is closer to real juice, it can still hit fast. That's what makes this so sneaky, because the problem isn't just obvious sugary drinks, it's the health position drinks, the better choices, the ones people switch to after a warning from their doctor. Harold thought he had escaped one trap and walked straight into another. Once we removed the juice and changed nothing else for 2 weeks, his numbers settled dramatically. But here's where I need to be precise, because this matters. Some juices are worse because they have added sugar. Others are 100% juice and still create trouble simply because of how much natural sugar they deliver so quickly. So when people say, "Mine has no added sugar," I understand why they feel reassured. But that sentence does not mean your blood sugar will be reassured. Your pancreas does not read marketing language. Your cells do not care that the sugar came with a picture of an orange grove. They respond to the glucose load and how quickly it arrives. That is the physiological truth. And speed is everything here. Blood sugar problems are not only about how much sugar you take in, they are also about how fast it lands. A slower rise gives the body a chance to respond. A rapid rise creates a different experience, a bigger spike, a stronger insulin response, and for many people, a harder crash later. That crash is when seniors tell me they feel suddenly tired, foggy, irritable, hungry, or oddly shaky an hour or two after what they thought was a healthy breakfast. They assume it's age. They assume it's poor sleep. Sometimes it's the juice they drank on an empty stomach. Let me tell you about Louise, because her story reveals the morning trap. Louise was 75, widowed, lived alone, and prided herself on never skipping breakfast. She would wake up, take a few sips of water, then pour herself a generous glass of apple juice while preparing the rest of her meal. Sometimes, if she wasn't hungry, the juice was the breakfast. She thought she was being gentle on her stomach. By 10:30 every morning she felt drained. Not sleepy exactly, but weak, scattered, and strangely desperate for something sweet. She thought her body needed more fuel, so she'd have crackers or a muffin. That made everything worse. What was happening to Louise is what happens to many people when liquid sugar hits early and fast. Blood sugar rises quickly. Insulin comes in hard. Then the drop begins. Not always into true dangerous hypoglycemia, but enough of a swing to make a person feel bad, hungry, and unstable. And for older adults, those swings can feel terrifying. They can mimic anxiety, they can mimic exhaustion, they can even mimic the start of illness. Louise stopped the morning juice, replaced it with whole fruit later in the day, and within a week she told me, "I feel like somebody leveled the floor under my body." That phrase stayed with me, because that's exactly what stable glucose feels like. The floor stops moving. You're not riding a roller coaster every morning. And that's why this subject matters so much, because blood sugar spikes are not just about future diabetes risk or lab numbers at your next appointment. They affect how you feel today. They affect your energy, your cravings, your mood, your focus, your walking confidence, your appetite, your sleep later that night. When people tell me they want more stable mornings, fewer crashes, fewer cravings, fewer frightening dips and surges, I often start by looking in the refrigerator door. Now here's a point that surprises almost everyone. A lot of seniors tell me, "But I'm only drinking orange juice, not eating dessert." In their mind, juice and dessert belong in completely different moral categories, but metabolically, the gap is not as large as people think. A standard glass of orange juice can carry over 20 grams of sugar, and almost nobody pours the true serving size. They use a big kitchen glass. They fill it to the top. Sometimes they have a refill. Suddenly what they believe is one harmless breakfast drink has become a serious sugar event, and it happened before lunch. And if the juice is paired with toast, cereal, pancakes, waffles, jam, or sweetened oatmeal, the effect compounds. This is what I see all the time. People don't just have juice. They have juice with other fast carbohydrates, so the body isn't dealing with one quick glucose source. It's dealing with several at once. That's when post-breakfast readings start looking frightening, and patients say, "I don't understand. I barely ate anything." They are telling the truth from their perspective. The meal didn't feel heavy, but physiologically, it was a wave. Light meals can still create big spikes if they're built from rapid carbohydrate sources and liquids. Now let's talk about whole fruit, because this is where confusion creates unnecessary fear. Whole fruit is not the enemy. In fact, for many people, whole fruit is the safer option precisely because it comes packaged the way nature intended. Fiber, water, chewing, volume, slower intake, and more fullness. People who panic after hearing that juice can spike blood sugar often make the wrong move and stop eating fruit completely. That is not what I want for you. I want you to understand the difference between eating an apple and drinking apple juice. Those are not metabolically identical experiences, even though they started from the same food. And smoothies complicate this even more, because they sit in that gray area where people assume anything blended must be healthy. Homemade smoothies using the whole fruit can preserve more fiber than clear juice, yes. But that does not automatically make every smoothie blood sugar friendly. Why? Because portion size still matters, speed still matters. And store-bought smoothies often pack more fruit than you'd ever eat in one sitting, sometimes with fruit concentrates, juice bases, honey, syrups, or sweetened yogurt added in. So a person leaves the store thinking they bought wellness in a bottle, when what they actually bought was a glucose surge wearing gym clothes. Raymond learned this the hard way. He was 67, newly retired, determined to lose weight, and very proud of what he called his green breakfast: spinach, banana, mango, pineapple, orange juice, and a scoop of something powdered he saw online. It looked vibrant. It tasted fresh. It made him feel virtuous. It also sent his glucose soaring. He didn't believe me at first because he kept repeating, "But it's all natural." I told him arsenic is natural too, and that got his attention. Natural does not mean metabolically gentle. We changed the formula, reduced the fruit, removed the juice base, added protein and fiber, and the spike settled. This is why labels and ingredients matter more than front-of-package promises. If the bottle says juice drink, fruit beverage, fruit cocktail, tropical blend, berry blast, wellness juice, immune support drink, or anything in that family, you have to slow down and read. Many of these products are carrying added sugars, concentrated fruit purees, or serving sizes designed to look smaller on paper than what people actually drink. The tragedy is that older adults often buy them with good intentions. They're not trying to indulge, they're trying to protect their health. And that good intention is exactly why the trap works so well. Now, I need to tell you something even more important. And this is where many seniors begin to recognize themselves. Age changes the consequences of these spikes. When you're younger, you may feel a little wired, then a little hungry, and move on. But later in life, blood sugar swings can feel much harsher. They can worsen fatigue. They can worsen balance. They can worsen concentration. They can worsen the kind of late-morning weakness that makes people sit down and avoid activity. And the less active you become, the less glucose your muscles clear. So what started as a morning drink becomes a daily pattern that slowly worsens metabolic control. That's why some of my patients say the juice wasn't just raising sugar. It was stealing their day. They didn't use those words at first, but that's what they meant. Less stable morning, less walking, more snacking, more sitting, more frustration, more abnormal readings, more fear. Then the emotional piece begins. They start feeling they're failing. They blame themselves. They tighten their diet in random ways. They skip meals. They get more erratic. All while the real trigger is still sitting there in plain sight, glowing orange in a glass. The body is struggling, and the person thinks the body is the problem. Sometimes it's the routine. Let me give you another example. Barbara was 73, careful with her medications, careful with her meals, careful with everything. But every afternoon she had one persistent issue, a terrible crash around 2 p.m. She'd get sleepy, headachy, and strangely irritable. Her first assumption was dehydration, so she started drinking more grape juice because she thought it would help her feel stronger. Instead, her afternoon numbers became even more erratic. The juice was giving her a rapid rise, followed by a hard drop in how she felt. When we switched her to water, balanced lunch, and whole fruit later if needed, the crash pattern eased. And speaking of dehydration, this is something almost nobody connects to the juice problem. Many seniors use juice as a comfort hydration drink. They say water feels boring, juice feels easier. But ironically, chasing hydration with sweet drinks can work against glucose stability. When blood sugar runs higher, the body can pull more fluid into the urine, leaving you feeling thirstier. Then you drink more of the same sugary beverage that helped push the number up in the first place. It becomes a quiet loop. If your mouth feels dry and you keep reaching for juice, you may actually be deepening the very instability you're trying to soothe. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Doctor, are you telling me I can never have juice again? No, that is not what I'm saying. Absolute rules make people shut down. What I am saying is that for many older adults, daily casual juice drinking is a bad bargain, especially first thing in the morning, especially on an empty stomach, especially in large portions, especially when paired with toast, cereal, or other refined carbs, especially if you already have prediabetes, diabetes, belly weight, morning fatigue, or unexplained glucose spikes. Context matters, frequency matters, portion matters, but the casual everyday glass? That's the danger zone. And there's another hidden moment when juice causes damage. Bedtime. I've seen seniors sip juice in the evening because they think it's a light, harmless snack. Some do it because they're worried about going low overnight. Some do it because they want something sweet that feels less sinful than dessert. But drinking juice before bed can set up a miserable next morning. Higher overnight glucose, poor sleep, nighttime urination, thirst, and then a discouraging fasting reading at sunrise. They wake up convinced their body betrayed them while they slept. Sometimes it did not. Sometimes the body simply processed exactly what it was given the night before. Let me tell you about Walter. Walter was 78, former mail carrier, disciplined his entire life, and he had one bedtime ritual he refused to question: half a glass of orange juice before sleep. He said it settled him. Every morning his fasting sugar was stubbornly elevated. He tried walking more. He tried eating less at dinner. He blamed his medication. But the bedtime juice was still there, untouched, unquestioned. We removed it for 10 days. That was it. His morning numbers dropped enough that he called my office and asked if his meter had broken. The meter was fine. The ritual was the problem. Now here's a nuance that matters, because I want this script to help people, not frighten them into the wrong decision. Juice does have a place in medicine. If someone has true low blood sugar and needs a fast-acting carbohydrate rescue, juice can be useful. That is very different from drinking it casually every day as a wellness beverage. Rescue is not routine. Emergency is not breakfast. This distinction matters especially for seniors on glucose-lowering medication. You should never remove something from your routine blindly if it's tied to preventing lows without understanding your treatment plan. That's why awareness matters more than panic. Another trap is exercise. People tell me I drink juice after my morning walk because I earned it. If you've just done strenuous activity for a long time, your needs may differ. But most seniors taking a normal walk around the block do not need liquid sugar afterward. They need water, balanced meals, and maybe whole food. The same goes for sports drinks and performance beverages marketed as replenishment. For the average older adult doing regular daily movement, those drinks are often just another sweet delivery system in disguise. Your body does not care that the bottle has lightning bolts and words like electrolytes written on it. And then there's the breakfast myth. The myth says juice belongs at breakfast because that's where we've always placed it culturally. Movies show it, hotels serve it, families pour it. It's been packaged into our idea of a proper morning for generations. But tradition is not metabolism. Habit is not evidence. Many of the most harmful health routines survive because they feel normal, not because they are helpful. That's why this subject is so powerful. We're not talking about a wild fringe behavior. We're talking about something ordinary, something socially approved, something many of you were told was good for you from childhood forward. Let me pause here and tell you what the spike often feels like, because a lot of seniors have never connected the sensation to the drink. It can feel like sudden sleepiness after breakfast. It can feel like your eyes get heavy. It can feel like irritability, heat in the face, brain fog, stronger hunger, or that strange sensation where you feel both full and unsatisfied. Later, when the swing continues, it may feel like shakiness, weakness, craving, or needing just a little something to get through the morning. Those sensations are often blamed on age. Sometimes age plays a role. Sometimes the juice is writing the script. So what should you drink instead? The answer is less glamorous than the ads want you to believe. And that's exactly why it works. Water, sparkling water with lemon, unsweetened tea, coffee without sugar-heavy add-ins. If caffeine doesn't push your glucose personally, milk in the right context for your plan. And if you love fruit, eat fruit, chew it. Let the body handle it in a slower, steadier way. I know that sounds almost too simple, but the most effective metabolic changes often are simple. The problem is not that the solution is complicated. The problem is that the unhealthy option was marketed as healthy for so long. If you absolutely love juice and don't want to give it up completely, then at least make it smaller, slower, and less lonely. Not a giant glass, a very small serving. Better with a meal than on an empty stomach. Better diluted than concentrated. Better occasionally than daily. And better when you understand that it counts as carbohydrate and sugar, not as free health magic. This is where many people regain control without feeling deprived. The goal is not punishment. The goal is honesty. Once you see juice clearly, you stop letting it hide in your routine under the costume of innocence. I also want you to think about medication timing, because this is where blood sugar confusion gets dangerous. Some people drink juice, see a spike, then assume their medication has failed. Others drink juice, feel a crash later, and think their medication is too strong. But if you don't account for what the drink is doing, you can misread the entire picture. I've seen people ask for medication changes when what they really needed was a breakfast change. And I've seen people ignore concerning readings because they blamed everything on food when medication timing actually needed review. The point is not guesswork. The point is clean information. Henry is the perfect example of that. Henry was 70, recently diagnosed, worried, and checking his blood sugar constantly. His numbers looked random. Some mornings he was high, some afternoons he crashed. Some evenings he was normal. He thought his medication was unpredictable. He thought his body was unpredictable. But when we reviewed his routine carefully, There it was, orange juice in the morning, apple juice with lunch twice a week, cranberry blend at night whenever he felt a little off. His glucose wasn't random. His inputs were. Once the juice disappeared and his meals became more consistent, the numbers finally began to make sense. This is why I tell patients not to change 10 things at once. If you suspect juice is part of the problem, remove that one item for a week or two and watch what happens. Keep the rest of your routine as stable as you can. Check your morning reading. Check how you feel after breakfast. Notice cravings. Notice energy. Notice whether you get that familiar late morning slump. Sometimes the improvement is dramatic. Sometimes it is moderate. But very often, the person finally sees the pattern clearly for the first time. They stop arguing with mystery and start working with evidence from their own body. And here is the deeper lesson in all of this, the one that matters beyond juice itself. Health problems do not always come from the things we fear most. They often come from the things we stopped questioning. That's what makes this drink so dangerous. Nobody has to persuade you that soda is risky. But juice gets a free pass. It gets nostalgia. It gets forgiveness. It gets marketed as vitamins in a glass. And because of that, it becomes a daily habit that can quietly worsen blood sugar while the person feels virtuous for drinking it. That combination is medically dangerous, harm wrapped in reassurance. Before I finish, I need to say one more thing about labels like natural, cold-pressed, and fresh. Those words sound protective, but they do not guarantee glucose stability. Cold-pressed sugar is still sugar. Fresh sugar is still sugar. Natural sugar arriving rapidly in liquid form can still spike blood sugar, especially when the body is already struggling with insulin resistance. This is why older adults get so frustrated. They think they made the premium choice, the expensive choice, the healthy choice. Then the body responds as if they had dessert in a glass. That doesn't mean the body is broken. It means metabolism is more honest than marketing. So let me give you the practical reset I want you to remember. If you are over 60 and your blood sugar has been creeping up, if your mornings feel unstable, if you get crashes after breakfast, if you feel hungry again too soon, if your A1C keeps rising despite eating healthy, look at your drinks before you look anywhere else. Especially the drinks that look wholesome. Especially the ones made from fruit. Especially the ones you consume every day.